computer, yes. Alrighty, so I'm gonna start letting people in. Okay, here we go. All right, welcome to those of you who are entering. I'm just gonna put a little welcome message in the chat here. Okay, so for those of you who are just entering the room, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box located at the center bottom of your screen. Tell us, what country are you in, or if you're here in Canada already, let us know what industry you're in or what kind of jobs you're looking for, or if you're looking to change your careers, what career change are you looking for? So yeah, feel free to introduce yourselves here in the chat box. As we continue to let more and more people into the room, we can get some introductions rolling here. Okay, so welcome Anthony, welcome. Who else do we have here? Artem, welcome Christiana, welcome John and Juan. All right, and we've got a couple more people coming in here. We've got Liuba, Gurpreet, welcome Rizal. All right, excellent. So yeah, please type in the chat where you are all from.
Can you hear them?
Yeah, people are just coming in. Yeah. I'm just putting another message here in the chat box. Okay, great. We've got Rashna, who's in Vancouver. Okay, Ariane's in the Philippines. Great, awesome. Yeah, let us know like what industry you're in or what kind of job you currently have now or what kind of job you're looking for. So let us know in the chat and we can get to know you better that way. All right, Artem is in Vancouver, sunny Vancouver. Oh, it was cloudy the last time I looked outside. So that's great to hear. After all that rain this week. Okay, Gurpreet's in Toronto, welcome. Oh, great to hear, Artem. Nice. I haven't been outside yet today. All right, great. Welcome Anderson and Base Holly, and welcome Maria and Manef. Okay, welcome Liuba, who's joining us again. Okay, I'll just wait maybe a couple more minutes just to let more people in the room before we get rolling with some introductions for BC Jobs and our guest panelists. So happy everyone could make it today. All right, okay, Maria's in Burnaby. Looking for a job in QA, okay. I don't know if I know what QA is, but let us know what you mean by that. Okay, we got Patricia joining us. So welcome, Patricia. All right. Okay, and Shohini is okay, Australian biotech and chemical engineer. Very cool. Awesome. All right, Anderson's from Brazil. Wow. Lots of different time zones here today. Nice. Okay. All right. Got a few more people entering here. Okay, maybe I'll just wait one more minute. Okay, software quality assurance testing. Okay, cool. Very cool, Maria. Okay, Chrissy's from Nigeria. Oh gosh, it must be the middle of the night for you there. It's quite late. Nice. Rashna, you're an RCIC. Welcome. And Adeni is from Tunisia. Nice. Also must be pretty late in the evening there for you. All right, let's see here. Okay, all right. Elid is from Cuba. Nice. Oh, you're here in BC. Great. 11 p.m. Wow. Yeah, it's quite late in Tunisia. All righty. Well, I think we can get started with some introductions for BC Jobs. I don't see anybody else in the waiting room here. Okay, so welcome back everyone to our third #HireMeInCanada Immigration Guest Panel Speaker Series hosted by bcjobs.ca. Today we are featuring Can-Do Canadian Immigration Services and Walras Immigration and Citizenship Services again, and newcomers to the panel are Npower and Whistler Immigration. And I'll be your bcjobs.ca host. Just to let you know about BC Jobs, we are Western Canada's biggest online jobs board, and we started this panel series last year back in 2021 to provide more information on finding work within Canada as an international job candidate. So in addition to this immigration guest speaker series, we also have our monthly #HireMe2022 guest speaker panel series featuring BC and Canadian innovative companies, and we host these ones every 3 weeks. I'm just gonna let a couple more people in here. All right. And we also have other events, including our annual career fairs, and hopefully we'll have an in-person career fair this year. We don't have any dates set yet, but you know, you can keep an eye out for that if you're here in BC. And we also have our really cool Innovators podcast available for you to listen to on Spotify, Google Podcast, and Apple Podcast as well. So before we get rolling here, I want to encourage the audience to type your questions for the panel speakers into the chat box at any point, and we'll get to your questions in a bit. I know we have quite a few audience attendees today, so we will do our best to answer all the questions by the end of the panel. So I just wanted to say that. And so our agenda for today is roughly, we'll do some introductions for our panelists, and then we'll have a little bit of a BC Jobs Q&A with our panelists before moving over to an audience Q&A with the panelists. So that's our agenda for today. And yeah, so let's get some panel introductions going here. I'd like to warmly welcome Marshall Dalla, Linosh Kumar, Anastasia Silic, and Barbara Kolvikova to this panel today. I'm going to pass the virtual mic over to Linosh Kumar. Linosh, welcome back to our panel, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you for inviting to speak at this event second time. And very warm welcome to all of you who are joining from different parts of the world. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. All right, it's good to be connected like this. First of all, thank you for inviting me, and I think I would like to congratulate Chelsea and her team for organizing such a great event, because I think it keeps all of us connected, the job seekers, employers, and the immigration industry. And I think there is a lot of room for synergistic interaction now. And these kinds of events are playing a huge role, and I hope you continue to do that. And all of the job seekers joined from different countries, including Canada. Thank you for joining, and I hope you can spread a word about the opportunities in BC with your family, your relatives, and you can, while you are thinking of immigrating to Canada on your own. So that's pretty much. I'm an immigration consultant. I'm a member of good standing in College of Immigration Consultants Canada. So that's all my introduction.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Linosh. Perfect. And next up, I'd like to invite Marshall Dalla to give an introduction. Marshall is an IC from Can-Do Immigration Services in Kelowna.
Yes, that was a nice introduction to the Around the World. Thank you for inviting me. I think that it's an excellent concept that you have developed. And all I can say to the people that are looking forward to coming to Canada, you are in the right area. It's one of the best countries in the world. And we're very fortunate to be in the province of British Columbia. And you're looking at a country that needs you, and we need you. So it's a common factor. Consequently, you need to get the right connection, because at this time and age and the situation, many of you may be taken advantage of So be cautious as to how and who you choose to assist you with your immigration program. I'm delighted to say that I've been practicing for the last 35 years with the largest and one of the best reputation. And I suppose all of the people that is in the panel have the same kind of caliber and qualifications. I speak on behalf of all of them. So thank you for contacting me today, and I would be love to help you out in any possible way. Thank you.
Thanks, Marshall. And next up, I want to invite Anastasia Silik, Career Advisor from Npower, to tell us a bit about yourself and your background.
Thank you so much for that, Chelsea. So yes, hello everyone. My name is Anastasia Silik, and I'm a Senior Talent Placement Specialist with Npower Canada. A little bit about me, and then I'll talk about who Npower is. So I have lived in Vancouver, BC for 10 years this April. It went by very quickly. I came over to Canada on the one-year working holiday program. I'm originally from New Zealand. I'm a New Zealander. I'm still a permanent resident. Citizenship is on the to-do list. And my background in New Zealand was in recruitment and community development. In Canada, like a lot of newcomers, I found myself looking for work, trying to reestablish my career. And I ended up taking a career pivot into career development. And I've worked as a career advisor for the last 8 years now. I worked with Work BC, which is a provincial employment program. And I've also just recently moved to Npower Canada for the last 6 months. And what we do at Npower Canada is we are a workforce development agency, and we support youth in helping them launch their careers or pivot their careers into the technology space. So we offer free training in going on 4 programs actually, junior IT support, data analytics, UX, UI, and we have cybersecurity on the Ontario side of the country. So those programs are free to youth. And what's unique about our programs is that they're also available to people who have arrived to Canada on a working holiday permit. And that's a pretty unique situation. Most employment programs, and we're very lucky here in BC, we have so many employment supports for newcomers and for Canadians alike. But there aren't that many out there that offer supports for people on the working holiday program. So as someone who came on a working holiday program, I was so excited about Npower and what we can offer to people. And then my role in that, once people have finished training, is to facilitate relationships and connections with local employers and our candidates who have finished the program. So that's a bit about me, and I'm sure we'll talk a bit more.
Awesome. That's really cool to know, Anastasia. Awesome. Last but not least, I'd like to welcome Barbara Kolvikova, RCAC from Whistler Immigration, to tell us a bit about herself.
Thank you, Chelsea. That was really interesting, Anastasia. I didn't know that. And I'm like thinking in my head, because I have 2 sisters who are teenagers. I'm like, oh, I need to tell them about this, because I know the tech space is just blowing up right now. I'm Barbara. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet everyone. And I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant myself. I'm originally an immigrant as well. I'm from Slovakia, and I'm really honored to call Canada my home with my family. So the process of helping people also make Canada their home is incredibly personal to me. I'm part of the team at Whistler Immigration and have been for the past 8 years. I can't speak high enough about our team. I could just pretty much brag about them all day. We're kind of all on the same page, where most of us are also immigrants. We're, physically located in Whistler. So we're of course obsessed with mountains and outdoors and all that good stuff, skiing, biking. But that being said, we help people all over the world make Canada their home in all sorts of communities across the country. So big, a little bit misleading there with the name, but we started with the home base of Whistler because we love to live here, and we've just kind of expanded and grown what we offer. We love taking a personal approach to immigration. There's really not like a one size fits all, I find. So I think that's so important as you're moving through this, like looking for jobs, looking for where you want to live in Canada, know that it's incredibly personal, and finding your own pathway is important to your success.
Wonderful. Thanks for that great introduction, Barbara, and great to have you four on the panel today. I feel like with your stories that you just shared, you know, we all know you a little bit better now. And I've got a few of my own questions that I'm going to start us off with before we move over to the audience Q&A. So these next questions are all about, you know, finding work in Canada, but also learning a little bit more about your, you know, your companies and your take on things as well. So we're going to start off with Anastasia. So maybe you can tell us, you just mentioned you're a career advisor with Npower, but can you tell us a bit more about how your programs help newcomers to Canada build their skills? And are the skills they're building intended for certain job roles?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like I mentioned, our employment program is quite unique in that the training that is offered over a 12-week or 15-week period is free for our participants because it's funded through government and corporate donors, which is fantastic. It's also available to people who are here on the working holiday permit. It's available to permanent residents, and it's available to Canadians. So it's a very accessible program. And we have 4 main streams. In BC, and I'll keep it to BC, we offer our junior IT analyst program. And so what does that mean? Well, think of your help desk analysts, your service technicians, or a tech support person. And really important in that is also the customer service roles that are out there with so many companies that help that a customer might need. Those call center roles, they're really, really pivotal, and they're a really good entry point into some fantastic employers in British Columbia. And then we have our junior data analyst program. And that one, it doesn't matter. You don't need to necessarily have post-secondary education, though I do find a lot of our participants, especially for newcomers, I know we're targeting newcomers in this conversation today, a lot of them come with their international experience in education, and they utilize the data analytics program as a way to help them understand Canadian workplace culture. You'll have a Canadian program on your resume, and then also you're going to walk away with certifications from that as well, and that's the IBM Data Analyst Professional Certificate and the Azure Fundamentals Microsoft certification too. And you know, the job opportunities that our candidates get once they've completed that program are so wide and varied because the candidates and the talents coming through is so diverse. And so you'll have anything from help desk analysts to junior data analysts coming through, tech support, business analysts. And then in BC in May, we're going to have our UX design course coming through. And that one will be another 15-week program. And of course, that will be obviously useful for UX designers, usability testing, visual designers, graphic, product design, customer support, and actually within the digital marketing space as well. And so if you're someone who's coming through with international experience in that area, and perhaps you're wanting to either hone in on some of your skills, use this time to help build your network, then that could be another great program to take as well. And the additional support that you get once you finish the program is with my support and help, and that we will facilitate conversations and connections with employer partners that we have. Now in Canada, nobody gives you a job. You have to earn the job. So the key word I mentioned there was facilitate. So we work really hard with our employer partners to understand their needs and match them up with candidates coming through our programs, and to find the best match, not just for the technical skills, but also for the cultural fit of the employer, and to make sure that there's a match with our candidates' goals and where they want to go to in their career. And is that an opportunity, or will there be opportunity for that growth in that company? So we're always facilitating conversations. We're speaking with our candidates, our participants, and we're making those connections to the right employers. I guess it's your job as the candidate to come through at the interview to showcase your skills and really demonstrate the experience that you might have had and gained from overseas, and then demonstrate what you've learned in this program that we've offered you through Npower Canada as well, and share your learnings in that too. And the great thing too about the program is that it's all online. So it's really opened it up. We've got our candidates, our participants are in the Lower Mainland, just north of Whistler. We have participants in the interior. So if you're not from Canada, check it out on the map, Kamloops, Kelowna, and that region. And we also have people on the island. And when I say island, I mean in Victoria as well. So being online has made it really accessible. If you're someone who wants to move to Canada and not necessarily be based in the city, you can still access the program. And we've got connections and job opportunities that are either work from home or hybrid, and then also reaching out to people in some of those smaller centers if they have those job ops. So yeah, it's there's a lot of opportunities, and I hope that answers a few questions for you.
That was a fantastic answer, Anastasia. And I have two follow-up questions that I just thought of for you. One, maybe I missed it. Are these programs, are they low cost? Are they free? Is there a fee for them?
Free. So we receive funding from provincial and federal funding, and we have corporate donors. And I can put a link to the site if you want to see who our generous donors are. So it's completely free. You do need to have, if you're here on a work permit, you do need to have at least 6 months after the completion of the program, because the goal is to help you find employment. So if you're at the end of the permit, then you won't be able to work at the end of the program. So that you would need to have enough room left on your permit before, if you were to take the program. I should point that out. If you're a permanent resident when you arrive, that's fine. That's open, right? If you're a Canadian, there's no restriction on that. But if you are discovering this halfway through your work permit, you would really need to look at how many months you have left, because there's no guarantee on it if an employer is in a position to extend. But maybe our immigration consultants can speak to that.
Yeah. Great to know. And you mentioned that you've got partner companies, Anastasia. How many roughly partner companies does Npower have?
I should have done a count, but it is in the hundreds.
Okay. Oh, wow. Oh gosh. Hundreds. Okay.
It's a lot. So for BC alone, that's something that we're always working on. We're analyzing the number of candidates or participants who are coming through each program, and really working hard to make sure that we have employer connections for each person. And then from there, it's up to the candidate to showcase their skills and compete for the job. And that's the key. When you're moving, when you come to Canada, you do compete for a job. Your network helps. Those introductions get you to the top of the list, but you still have to compete, right? So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for answering my question. My next question is for Marshall. So Marshall, you're from Canadian Immigration Services, based out of beautiful Kelowna, British Columbia. As many of you may know, Kelowna is in the heart of the Okanagan, which is in the interior of British Columbia. And Marshall, maybe you can tell us what immigration is looking like for the interior this year, and what industries are hiring in your area?
Well, that's a question. In order to answer that, I have to say that according to the Statistics Canada, we're looking at about 731,000 jobs opening up in the next few years.
Wow.
And alone in the hospitality industry, we are looking at, in this Okanagan area, 12,000 new jobs. So the industry, the hospitality industry in British Columbia is a $21.5 billion worth of business. So imagine the number of people that the employers are needing, and they are not going to be able to operate without good workers. And we have a tremendous shortage of workers in every industry, not only the hospitality industry, but the care industry, with tourism industry, healthcare, manufacturing, retail. In every area, we are looking at anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 new jobs requiring within the next 3 years. So if you have qualifications, if you have experience, if you have knowledge of the job, then contact us. We'll find the employer because the employers are coming to us. The interior is one of the best places in Canada, obviously in British Columbia, because it's a growing industry. It's a place of new, young people. And so it's growing. It gives you a tremendously family, good life, quality life. And there is nothing that can beat the lifestyle in the interior. And we have number of jobs in many different areas. Please contact us and we'll let you know. If you have any special qualification that you feel that you can contribute, contact us. We'll see what we can do. Because 80 to 90% of the time when people are contacting us with the skills, we're able to place them, employment them, and we bring them in with good jobs. That's all I can say about the interior.
Great. Thanks so much for answering my question, Marshall. My next question is for Barbara. Barbara, you must see a lot of tourists come out your way to Whistler. And what are some primary industries that are hiring in Whistler these days?
Yes, certainly. The industries that are hiring, it sounds very similar to what Marshall spoke to in the interior. We are very tourism heavy, and it's been nice to see that tourism economy recover since the pandemic. The messaging we've had probably for the past year is employers are incredibly desperate for staff. So yes, hospitality. So if you're thinking hotel front desk, housekeeper, concierge, they're all understaffed. Restaurant industry, servers, bartenders, cooks, supervisors, floor managers. We see postings for those constantly. Another area, particularly in Whistler, ski techs and bike techs. We are very ski and bike heavy. So if you've got any tech skills, and honestly, most people I find that work in those, it's sort of their hobby. They're like, oh, well, I've biked all my life. I know how to fix a bike. I've never worked in a bike shop, but I can do it. So, if that's a passion of yours, it's definitely the retail space is looking for good, talented workers. And construction as well. So construction is booming. I feel like every time I look out my window, there's a new home or a reno happening somewhere. So if you're, skilled trades, carpenter, general labor, those are also in really high demand. And then BC in general, I would say tech and healthcare as well. There's a huge need for good workers in those sectors.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Barbara, especially about the construction part. Every time you go outside here in Vancouver, there's, new building just popped up. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a boom. It's a boom for sure.
It definitely is a boom. Yeah. Okay, I've got a question here for Linaj. So maybe Linaj, you can tell us a bit about what kind of qualifications, skills, and experience that foreign workers need when applying for jobs in BC, and are there any special requirements for working in Canada?
Okay, Chelsea, thanks for that question. Excited to learn about what my other panelist has to offer from their companies. And now the first tip I would say to all job seekers is that don't fall in the trap of fraudulent job offers, because there is scams growing day by day. That is my first tip to all of you, because I wanted to tell that, look, there is a reasonable amount of effort involved in securing a job in Canada. And as my colleagues would very well agree with me, that they are connected with different employers. So as I am also, that we can only connect you to employers. It's the employer who has to hire you, basically. So there will be a series of communications in the beginning. There will be a set of interviews which you have to go through, right? Same as your home country. If you have to be hired in a professional occupation, there is some amount of efforts involved from your side. So if someone is coming to you, say that, okay, I'm going to give you a job offer for $5,000. Trust me, it is a scam. And it is happening almost every day. I come across the victims of this job offer because no one in Canada, like whether it is an immigration consultant or an employer or anyone, is allowed to take money from an employee who is the job seeker for giving you a job offer or giving you information about a job. So yeah, I just want you to be educated on that. So because there have been things like people make a very professional letterhead in the name of a company and give you a job offer, or they can make fake visas. And I have, people have been coming to airport. I've been reading the other day, I think this was in India, that they come to airport with a Canadian visa and they realized that, well, it was a fake visa and they were turned down. So this has been happening every day. So make sure that, if you have got the qualifications, that having said that, that means there are plenty of job opportunities here. So you have to get to the right employer and make applications and go through interviews and do your research or hire a professional immigration consultant to help you with that. Now, with respect to qualifications, and I think as my other colleagues told here, that it really depends on the job you're really applying for. There are, sometimes people think that there are only shortage of skilled occupations. No, BC job market requires a lot of semi-skilled laborers, right? Now, having experience in skilled occupation later would enhance your prospects of immigration, but there are requirements here in BC labor market for semi-skilled occupations as well. Simply a packer, for example, in the food processing sector, and you can come here, work here, and then later on get promoted to a skilled worker occupation, and then that enhance your permanent immigration process prospects. And that's one. Second, when you come here on a work permit, temporary resident work permit, you have to know some of the occupations are regulated, right? When you are thinking of coming to Canada. For example, for internationally trained nurses, okay, internationally trained teachers or doctors. So for those occupations, you have to be certified in BC before you start practicing that profession. So, I mean, of course, you can apply for that certification with your credential back in your home country and with your experience there. And then they would make you suggestions. Maybe it is as such acceptable and give you a certification, or they might ask you to do some small coursework or a few hours of training and those kind of stuff. But you have to be certified before you start working on that. So please check whether your intended occupation is actually regulated or not. Secondly, for example, some IT based occupations, they are not regulated. Actually, we are talking about the 2171 to 2175, those codes, like you are a software engineer or a web developer, those kind of occupations are in high demand in almost every province in Canada, including BC, right? So, of course, if you approach the employer, IT employers with your CV, they would look at your education and a lot of the times your experience actually, and see whether you can meet their expectations. You are competent to meet their expectations, and they will make you a job offer. Now, before they make you a job offer, in a lot of cases, the employer has to go through a process, which is acquiring a positive or neutral Lmia. So that involves quite a bit of efforts, as everyone probably know. So those are my tips here. Now, last not the least, your English proficiency requirement, right? Don't underestimate that, because even though you are hired hired means you are given a job offer by an employer, you still have your immigration officer, when you apply for a work permit, will still look at whether you can handle French or English reasonably well. It's because, say, in the construction sector or manufacturing sector, you are coming here, and if you cannot communicate in English, it can lead to a lot of workplace accident and those kind of stuff. So immigration officer is really look into, okay, can he really communicate with his co-workers and also with the community around? So you need to have not probably super fluent in English, but reasonable skills in English language skills as well. You need to have before you come here as a worker. And I think that is pretty much it. So we have plenty of occupations in demand, as they mentioned, like even butchers, meat cutters, food and beverage processing. In fact, there is a Lmia priority processing for those kind of occupations out there. Yeah, so not only in IT occupations, there is, we need in a lot of occupations, we are short of people, like chef, for example. So, just get onto this as early as you can and keep it going and get the help of a professional in getting you to the right employer. And I was really impressed with what Anastasia was saying, that about what her organization has to offer. I was quite excited about that. Again, Anastasia, to be honest with you, even here, sometimes students come here and they complete their, say, 1-year diploma program, and they get, generally they get a 1-year post-graduation work permit. And I have seen a lot of students struggling to find a job. So again, as I highlighted before, the gap between these job seekers and what organizations like yours can do to connect to the right employer, right? And I think this is extremely vital to know.
Yeah, and I guess to that, I forgot to mention is that what comes with the completion of our program is also 5 years post-completion support to support you with your career growth. Because if you're a young person, or if you're making a career pivot, or you're a newcomer trying to reestablish yourself and your career in Canada, there's going to be a first step, but that first step may not necessarily be where you're visualizing yourself in the future. So we're there for 5 years post completion to support you with career counseling, career advice, further employer connections, and of course, actually you also get post-graduation, you also get access to free professional development courses even once you finish the first one. So it's the pathway of an immigrant. When you see someone who in your mind has made it, there's a long journey and a story behind that, right?
Right. Yeah.
And there's lots of supports that you received or advice and people you connected with. So yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
exciting to hear that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for answering my question there, Linosh. And I see we're getting lots of questions in the chat directed towards what you were just saying about fraud and towards Npower. So we'll hold off answering the questions in the chat until our audience Q&A coming up in a bit. I do have a couple more questions left for our panelists. So going back over to Anastasia here. Maybe you can tell us what roles are industries hiring for, and are you seeing employers hiring job candidates from outside of Canada? And my last question for you is, does Npower offer paid work opportunities with other companies or organizations?
Okay, I'll start with the last one and then I'll work my way back. So we, for any one of our students or participants who finishes the program, we only present paid employment opportunities through employer partners or new job opportunities that we've sought and been able to present. So yeah, only we ever present paid opportunities. And saying that, though, I'm sure there's some participants who have taken on something that was pro bono or something on a volunteer basis, or they've got a side passion project because they're trying to build up their portfolio. That's fine. But we only ever find paid job opportunities. And then the other question was, what was the hiring people outside of Canada. So I personally, on a professional level, have not had experience. No, personally, I've had experience with this. Professionally, I haven't. So myself and my partner came over on the working holiday permit. My partner works in tech. He was a software developer at the time. He was able to secure a job before we touched down in Canada. He utilized his connections. He had a recruiter contact in New Zealand who contacted a recruiter contact in Canada. And because he had the working holiday permit, fortunately, because of that relationship between New Zealand and Canada, it was an easy hire. He had a job before he landed. It was amazing. Professionally, though, because I have worked with employment programs, I have not dealt with that. I've only worked with people who've had permanent residencies or Canadian citizens or the working holiday permit. But I know it does happen anecdotally. And normally, from what I have heard, it's employees who've had experience with the process and are educated to know that it isn't that complicated, or maybe there's a lot of newcomers in the organization themselves, so they've personally gone through it and they're empowered to support another newcomer over. So that's my experience with outside of Canada employment. And then the question about the types of jobs that are in demand, and I thought about this and I was thinking, oh my goodness, it's going to be a whole other slide deck or something. There's just, what will I say? So what I would like to share, and I'll put this in the chat, the great thing when you come to BC is there are so many resources. There is so much data, employment programs, support networks, be that through industry or organized at a provincial level through different funding grants. But there is a lot of support for newcomers to arrive, settle, and flourish here in Canada. And a lot of the information around labor market stats, where's the demand, is available through one of the provincial websites, the Work BC website. And I want to put the link in the chat here because there's a fantastic list, which could be really helpful for people who are moving over, of high demand positions. It puts in the NOC and it gives you an indication of the post-secondary education and the expected wage, as well as it also shows the number of openings that are expected between now and 2031. So that I think that data would be really helpful for anyone who's making a decision. Is my career, is my occupation in demand here? And then figure out, just like you were saying, is it regulated? What will I need in order to do that career? And okay, if I decide I don't want to retrain if required, what else will I do? Because there's a lot of information here. So I want to put that on the chat. And you'll see everything from healthcare to tech, computer programmers, hospitality. There's a lot of demand and opportunity. It's just realizing where your skill sets are, where your passions lie, and then aligning yourself to that demand, because you can't control what the market demands, right? So it's about identifying what you have to offer and where do I fit in the current labor market. So I'll put that into the chat. This is just one resource, and then maybe we can share it again later. So that is specific to British Columbia, specific to BC. And then I also wanted to share with you the Labour Market Outlook 2021 edition. So that's last year. The 2022 one will come through again. And so for myself as a career advisor, I'm always referring to these resources to see where are you likely to have success in your job search. And that will help you as a job seeker to open up and be more open to different opportunities that come in, or realize opportunity. I used to work in recruitment. I had a community development background. My occupation didn't exist here. So I had to reinvent, I had to pivot, I had to see what my strengths were. And then I discovered career development. It brought recruitment, it brought community development, it brought facilitation, it brought all these different parts of my background into one neat little job. So that might be something that you do for yourself if you don't see your occupation in demand here. And that's just something to keep in mind. So yeah, I've put those stats in there. And I'll just put one more link in here, which is a general page that will link you up to more information to help you find your occupation.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing these resources and thank you for sharing the insight into this. Perfect. I think people will find this very helpful.
It will really help you. Yeah. And I wish I had this before I arrived.
It's good to have insider information for sure.
Yeah. Hindsight, right?
Yeah. All right. My next question's for Marshall here. So Marshall, are there any programs or organizations in the Okanagan, besides Work BC, that help companies hire temporary foreign workers, or do employers go to immigration consultants when seeking to hire from abroad? And how do companies and international workers find each other in the interior of British Columbia?
Well, to answer your first question, no, there isn't any kind of organization or an institution that really go to the employer, or employer comes to them and say, I need to hire, I'm having a shortage of labor problem. There isn't anything like that. In most cases, to answer your questions, the employer will go to employment agency, local agencies, and they will try to find local people. And obviously the local employer agency fails because there aren't any local employees available. So then in turn to maybe should I go foreign worker? And that's when most of the employers are contacting us. We're overwhelmed. I mean, we had 4 or 5 employees trying to go to the employer to find out their need. We don't have to have them anymore. The employers are contacting us and telling us, I need people. So we are interviewing employer, and we are making sure that the employer qualifies. That it was a very important point, Lenju Kumar brought it up in reference to the labor regulation. And I wanted to touch base on that, is that it is very important for foreign skilled worker or any skilled worker when they come to Canada to understand Canada labor law regulation is very strict. There is no room for any way to take advantage on you. No agency, no legal lawyer, no consultant can charge you for recruitment. Let that be very clear. So having said that, coming back to your question, the employers are coming to us, and I think Lenju also tried to express that a lot of the employers don't know that it is a comprehensive and complex process to hire foreign worker. Obviously, you as a foreign worker are saying, you need people, you have shortage of worker, you need my expertise, why can't I come so easily? It's not. The reason, because of what Lenju also touched base, is that it's called Labor Market Impact Assessment, LMIA. LMIA is administered by an organization of Service Canada called ESDC, Employment and Social Service Canada. Employment and Social Service Canada always looks at all the employer and say, hold on, you're trying to hire foreign worker. In order for you to hire foreign worker, you must give the same opportunity of the same position to the Canadian first. So in order to balance the Canadian labor market, the Employment Social Service Development Canada regulates the employer. And that process is called Labor Market Impact Assessment. And that's why a lot of the foreign workers will get eliminated. So again, anyone promising you that, oh, if you have qualification, you're guaranteed, be careful. You're going through a process. The process is tough. It's going to eliminate all the good qualification or bad qualification, good employee and a non-qualified employee. Consequently, whenever you're dealing with any immigration consultant or agency, ensure what kind of position that you are being offered. Ensure that you have all the qualifications that is needed for that. So those are the kind of things that is essential for a foreign worker to understand. So, so basically, again, you have to also understand, just because you found an employer wants to say that they want to hire you, is that you have a road, clear road? No, because an employer must also qualify in order to hire you. So not only do the employee or the applicant like you are looking for a job to qualify, but the hiring employee in Canada or the company must qualify. And that's what we do. We determine the financial ability. He's offering you 45,000 or 70,000 worth of job, and you're very happy. But the ESDC officer is going to question the employer. How are you going to pay them? Where is your cash flow? Where is the balance sheet? When did you establish your company? Where is your net worth? Where is the money coming from? How will you support that? So it's not only you, but also the employer's qualifications are very important. So you need to know who the employer is, the reputation of the employer, and who the immigration consultant is, who is the immigration lawyers are. Those are all important. The burden is on you. And you want to ask this question, talk to us, and we will provide you this information accurately, correctly, diligently, and truthfully. Thank you.
Great, thanks for answering my question, Marshall. I've got two more questions left, one for Barbara and one for Linaj. So for Barbara, maybe you can tell us a bit about the steps for getting a visa to come work in Canada, and what kind of work visas or work permits are there? I imagine there's quite a few.
Yes, there are. There certainly are. Great question. And Marshall certainly touched on one option, probably the most well-known. We always see people asking, you know, how do I get an LMIA, which is the Labor Market Impact Assessment? What I think what I'd like to share is that there are dozens of types of work permits in Canada. I always struggle with like, what's the best way or simplest way to explain this? And there's a few. You know, I like to almost think of it as each program, each type of work permit has a column, and then it's got bullet points of criteria you need to meet. You know, maybe you need to be a certain age or from a certain country or have a certain job offer or speak a certain language. If you meet the criteria, it's just a matter of applying and following the steps. Another way to think of it is there's the LMIA, which Marshall mentioned, Labor Market Impact Assessment, where an employer demonstrates their challenge to find a local talent and their need to hire a foreign worker in lieu of that labor shortage, essentially, in that role, which pairs really nicely with the data that Anastasia shared. You know, an employer in one of those industries is going to have a higher likelihood of success applying for an LMIA because there is a genuine and clearly recorded need for that job, and there's a lack of Canadians able to fill those roles. There are, however, my favorite, LMIA exempt work permits where we do not need an LMIA. So I always like to evaluate those first. Some examples you may have heard, there's the working holiday permit, there's a young professional, there's the Francophone mobility if you are French speaking and have a skilled job offer in Canada. There's also postgraduate work permit, right? So if you're following through, you know, going through the motion, can't find a job, found a job, but the employer doesn't want to do LMIA, well, study. Do you want to study? Do you want to pick up a new skill in Canada? You could enter as a student first, and some study programs lead to a work permit afterwards. So the strategic oversight of your overall immigration pathway is crucial, and that's where having someone to review it and go through it with you is so important, so beneficial, and it can also help you reach your end goal, right? If your end goal is permanent residency, you want to make sure the first step you're doing is actually going to help you reach that goal. I see so many people come to Canada, have a good time, travel around. They get to the end of their work permit and they're like, ooh, I did nothing to actually reach my goal of permanent residency. So that as well, we can kind of create a strategy step by step so that what you do now actually helps you and benefits you in the future if your ultimate goal is something more permanent in Canada.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Great. Thanks for answering my question. And my last question is for Linaj, which will touch on what you were just talking about, Barbara, about permanent residency. So up until now, we've been kind of chatting about temporary foreign workers in Canada, but maybe Linaj, you can tell us a bit more about permanent residence pathways into Canada, you know, if workers want to move here permanently, and what types of workers, what do workers have to do in order to get PR status?
Okay, so now coming to Canada for work, I think as everyone probably knows, is a temporary status, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to permanently immigrate to Canada, you are looking into one of the permanent immigration pathways. There are several of them which you can pursue actually. So just to give you a potential of being a permanent resident, 25% of BC's population, for example, are immigrants. I think this year, Canada is planning to take 440,000 permanent residents to the country, which means if you break it down to per month, I would think around 36,000. Correct me if my math is wrong. Okay, per day, that's going to be 1,100 immigrants. So if you just distribute across, we already passed, almost passing March here. They haven't called, a lot of the, federal express entry candidates yet. So you can imagine there is still a demand for permanent residents in Canada if you meet the requisite qualifications. Now, the most common one is what you call express entry, which is probably the fastest way of becoming a permanent resident, which is a point-based system. This is for skilled workers. And there are two types of skilled workers there, kind of traders, like the trade skill, and also high skilled workers. So if you meet the qualifications, for example, there is a minimum requirement to be met in terms of English language. You have to have like a 7 for high skilled workers, which is equivalent to an IELTS of 6, right? And then if it is for trade occupations, then you are talking about an IELTS of mostly 5, right? And except one of the abilities, I think you need to have only a 4, which is equivalent to a CLB, which is Canadian Language Benchmark of 5. So if you meet that minimum requirements, then you can register in the express entry pool. But being in the pool doesn't mean that, you are already on the, the track of permanent residency. Being in the pool, they will select you almost every 2 weeks. Once they start calling, they will invite applications. And this is based on a cutoff point. For example, like they could decide that, okay, if we are inviting candidates above 480, or 500 points. That means whoever is achieving a score of above 480 and would be invited to the pool, right? To that PR. Now, what would determine that cutoff point? It would keep changing every time they invite applicants. Now, what would determine that? Well, it depends on the number of candidates they are inviting to a large extent. If they are inviting 5,000 people, maybe the cutoff point is like 500. If they are inviting 20,000 people, you can imagine the cutoff points will have to go down. So it just keeps, going up and down. So if you have some reasonable points, do your research or ask a professional immigration consultant or lawyer that, what is the recent call for like express entry cutoff points, and they would let you know that. So if you think your points are reasonable enough, then you can register for that express entry pool, and they will, start inviting depending on your point. I always suggest my clients that, okay, don't sit on your express entry profile. Once you create your profile, you have to work diligently and patiently to increase your score. How can you increase your score? Well, you can retake your English test. As many points you have in the English test, you can increase your points. If you have a French language ability, excellent. You can increase your points quite a bit if you can do that test. If you can secure a job offer through an Lmia, for example, you can increase 50 or 200 points. If you can get into a provincial nomination program, like for example, BCPNP here, you get 600 points extra. So that means like you are, substantially increasing your chances of getting invited in the next, draw. So now if you look at BC PNP, you have got lots of different streams. There is a BC PNP Tech for 29 occupations or so, which goes all the way from graphic designer, even authors, writers to, like IT occupations. Now, one thing Barbara touched upon, I think that is very important. If you want to study in Canada, say eventually you are coming here for studies, I think there are some students here, like for some of the programs, if you complete, you will get, depending on the duration of the program and the type of program, you will get a post-graduation work permit. That means Canadian government is, encouraging you to get some work experience in Canada after the completion of the studies. A lot of people use this as an excellent way to slowly settling in Canada permanently. Why? Because by the time you complete your studies in Canada, you will get some points in the express entry automatically. A lot of the PNP programs have exclusive like PNP pilot programs for international graduates in their province, and you can apply for that. And after completing the study, you can get work permit. That means if you hook with an employer, maybe with the help of someone like Anastasia, right? So then you get work experience in Canada, and after a year or so, you would automatically get placed in what you call Canadian experience class. That's a completely different permanent immigration category. So as Barbara mentioned, you are eventually naturally getting into your permanent immigration pathway here by studying in Canada. That's not a bad option, actually. But you have to be careful in terms of selecting your program, look at the job prospects of that program, right? Are you doing a certification or diploma or master's? If you look at each of these programs have, different pros and cons, actually, right? In getting, for example, if you complete some master's program in Toronto, you would be, right after the completion of the master's or PhD program, you can apply for, a PNP in that province. So there are some, pluses and minuses for each, depending on the location where you're going to land in. If you come to BC, there is international postgraduate PNP program here also, if you are completing PhD in some of these natural resources or those kind of subjects, actually. Okay, that's a very generic tips to everyone. I think it's a lot. I took a lot of your time, so
great.
A lot of information. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much for sharing, Linaj. No, these are all like really, really important tips. I feel like, and thanks so much for sharing like this wealth of information. I'm sure everyone's going to find this super helpful for immigration purposes to Canada. And I'd like to move over to our next segment here, which is our audience Q&A. And I see that questions have been coming into the chat here, and I'm just gonna I've scrolled back up into the chat, and I see our first question started with Norman sent me a private message about Npower. Does Npower provide work or help us to land work? And I believe Anastasia has already answered that question. So I'll just move down to the next one here, which actually is for Marshall. And Neni asked if Marshall could share your contact information. So maybe if you have an email address that you prefer, you can share that in the chat with everyone, Marshall. And then the next question I have on here is from Christiana. Now, Christiana, if you're still here, which yes, you are, perfect. Why don't you come on screen and you can unmute your microphone and you can ask your question. And I believe this question was under the topic of what Linaj actually and Marshall were both talking about earlier in terms of, which jobs are legit and not fraudulent. So yeah, I'll welcome you to come on and ask your question in person. If they're still there, Christiana. Okay, if not, no worries. I'll just ask the question here. So I'll pose this to either Linaj or Marshall. How do we know jobs in Canada that are legit, and what is the best way of applying for them? So that's Christiana's question.
You want me to answer that? Or
Sure, yeah. Whoever wants to take that question and run with it, yeah, go for it.
Well, I think the best way to find out if the job is a legitimate job or not is to, first of all, find out about the employer. go to the website, find out who the employer is. Is there an employer that exists? Where? What location? Trying to find out the historical facts about the employer. That is your job. As an employment seeker, you want to find out if you're looking for the right job, are you in contact with the right person? Also, if you're in contact with your consultant or your immigration lawyer, make sure that you get the right information from them. They're supposed to provide you with proper information. So it is up to you, again, to do these jobs. So that's basically, I would say, that go to the website and check in the history of the employer. And that's the best way to do it. And the other thing that comes with the thing, that every job that is being posted, it is in Service Canada. It's a job posting. In order to post a job for Canadian employer, the Canadian employer must qualify. So if the job posting is in the job market of Service Canada, then you know that's a position, it's a legitimate position. That's another way to do that for you.
Good tips. Yeah. And I might just like tack on there. Like if you're not sure if a company is a real company, look them up on LinkedIn and see how many employees they have, look at their Google reviews. That might be a good way of kind of like sussing out if this company is a legit or not. Linaj, over to you. You've got your hand raised.
Yes. So I just echo what Marshall was saying. One more thing I would like to add, a lot of these scammers, they are, I don't know, they are super brilliant people, yeah, in a negative way. They can create fake website and lead you to that website, and that website can disappear the next day. Okay, so don't, if you see a website of a company, don't think that this is legit, and that, so you have to, you have to find alternate ways, as Chelsea mentioned, like LinkedIn, and take your phone up and talk to one of the HR departments. Did you really, I heard about this job opportunity. Is it legit, actually? Or if you talk to one of the professional immigration consultants, I again, quote unquote, professional immigration consultant, in the sense that they have to be licensed to do their work in Canada. You can find them licensed or not by going into the website of College of Immigration and Citizenship Consultant. Okay, you can search their name and find out whether it is legit. And if it's a legit and certified immigration consultant, they would be able to also help you to kind of find out whether this employer and job offer is legit or not. But most of the time, they would leave some mark somewhere showing that it's not a legit job offer. This is what I have seen. They won't be 100% perfect all the time, because they will probably don't know about Canada and those kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Could you pop a link into the chat, actually, Linaj, for the CICC, so people can
Sure. Yeah, I will do that.
Our CICs. Okay,
yeah,
great.
I'll do that. And then one more thing, like for job, the National Job Bank website, I think someone was asking that question here too, that is that legit? Yes, it is. Because National Job Bank is a great website. Now BC Jobs, as you know, Chelsea, you have got BC Jobs website here. This is how these are all legit website. Now National Job Bank, there is a requirement by ESDC, as Marshall was telling, that all employers have to advertise in National Job Bank. Okay, so National Job Bank is a place where you can kind of, like shortlist employers who already has kind of an existing Lmia kind of. So you are really getting into the, the right employer by searching for jobs in that particular site, and you can, search in BC Jobs and those kind of websites. So, but the point is that you have to do your own, homework in this, and not falling into the trap of the scammers. Thank you. I'll just put the website. Yeah.
Yeah. And could you also put maybe the link for the job bank in the chat too, for everyone to see? I think that would be super helpful. Cool. Yeah. Oh, and Anastasia's got her hand raised. Perfect.
Yeah, I have a question, and it might help some of our guests in the call today, but I'm just curious to know, so with your experience, employers who are using an Lmia, are these generally larger corporations, or do you find them normally to be small to medium-sized businesses, or is it is it everything in between?
Great question.
Maybe Lanaj,
Yeah, so the question is that the employers are requiring job seekers with a median wage? That's what you're trying to say?
Yeah, so for those employers who are actively hiring newcomers or bringing people over using an LMIA,
right.
Are we talking about large corporations that are utilizing this?
Or you have to
or smaller to medium-sized organizations?
All of them.
So everyone is seeking.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you know, one thing to add there is that they have to meet the provincial wage requirements, right? So when they hire foreign workers, they cannot offer a job below the range of, you know, the wage which they are currently paying to their employees on the same occupation. So from looking at the wage is another great way of finding out whether it is a legit offer. So you can find out, you know, what is the wage offered in this province for this particular occupation? Is this lower than that? You know, if it is too cheap and someone is hiring you for that, or if someone is offering you that, hey, I'm giving you a job, but you know, you have to pay me $1,000. Trust me, that's a scam. And the employers are not allowed to do that, and the employees are not allowed to pay the employers either as a victim. So those are all scams. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, all kind of employers are hiring foreign workers, and there are some requirements to be met by ESDC.
Yeah, because I think a company's got to be at least open for a minimum of 2 years, and they have to have like a minimum of 5 employees, I think.
Right.
You know, yeah, something. Yeah, there's requirements for that. Yeah, I mean, personally, I've only seen like mid-range companies getting LMIAs for their workers, but I'm sure, like, of course, the bigger companies will be financially able to do that for their employees, because the employers will have to pay, I think it's about $1,000 a fee for the LMIA to be like assessed or approved.
Correct.
Yeah, so there's an investment part from the employer as well. Great.
Right.
I've got a question here from John Chan. John, if you're still on the call today, do you want to jump on screen and ask your question? Okay, maybe John's not here. John's question was, I'm 37 years old, working in the medical sales industry. Will my age limit my chances of getting through? Thank you all. Great event. Yes. So being 37, is it good? Is it bad? How does that work?
Is this question for permanent residency actually, Chelsea, or?
It doesn't specify. John just said he works in the medical sales industry. So I'm guessing, I mean, I know there's restrictions for different work permits for temporary workers and then for permanent residency, as well as I've learned today on this call.
Yeah, for temporary workers, actually, I mean, it really depends on what he has to offer to the employer. I think it's totally depend on that. So there is no restriction there is no age restriction as to, foreign workers. So I think it's mainly depend on if his employer is satisfied that, okay, he can meet the expectations, they would be willing to go through the process of LMIA and provide him, a job offer. Now, with respect to permanent residency, there is kind of, there are some points for age, particularly in the express entry pool. Every year after 30 or so, you would lose some points year by year. But, like, for example, it really depends. You can always compensate that with, Canadian education or Canadian experience, or your qualifications back in your home country, if you have got a like degree, and it all depends on that. So it's a cumulative factor of a cumulative point system. So we can only tell you after assessing your whole profile and see where you are standing in that, right? And I also would like to add here, not only LMIA, because I think here Anastasia is a very good example who came here on IEC, right? I think Anastasia has mentioned that.
Working holiday permit.
Working holidays
easiest
program.
way in.
Right. So whoever is from those partner countries, if you know about IEC program, may want to check that out. And it doesn't require an LMIA, and you can come here to Canada on a LMIA exempt basis.
I will say though, we personally did still have to go through all of these steps that you're speaking of.
Yes.
And like you said, Barbara, we did a bit of planning ahead of time. Had a lot of fun though. We did have a lot of fun, but we at the same time were planning and figured out which visa or application we should go through. And I think we got several visa extensions. Then we had enough time in Canada to then be able to apply for permanent residency. And we consulted with professionals like yourself to help us figure out the most logical pathway, and had someone proofread our applications.
Yes.
Good.
The amount of information out there is huge. And that's why I think a professional's help would,
Great. I see another question from Vaishali. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Vaishali, if you're still on the call today, do you want to jump on screen and you can ask your question to our panelists? Hi, welcome.
Hi. I am a 49-year-old teacher. I've tried, different options, to migrate. I've been trying for the past 8 years. As Anastasia was talking, I said, I've also had a lot of fun doing this. So far, not succeeded, but I'm not giving up. I took admission at Lakehead University. My visa was refused twice, And in fact, in this whole process, my daughter has reached Canada. She is studying in BC now. She's doing her MBA in Kamloops,
Nice.
TRU. And in fact, the recent refusal reason was the family tie in Canada. So I thought, now I cannot do anything about this because my daughter's studying there. And I'm looking for job opportunities. In fact, I had an interview that was a success, but then again, ultimately, I think the employer was not confident about the LMI or something, but he actually said that the person in whose place we were going to hire you is returning back. So, I was so close, and then again, it didn't work finally. So I'm really looking for some advice of, professionals like you all. It's such an amazing opportunity to see so many of you at the same platform. If you could give me some advice.
So what you're teaching, you said you're a teacher. And
yes,
what do you teach?
I am a teacher. I'm in fact on the panel of Cambridge educators very recently. And I have done my master's in child development from Delhi University and bachelor's in education. So I have 6 years of university education. I've also got the Ontario teaching license. 2 years back, I had come to Canada and I had applied. I went to OCT, which is the Ontario College of Teachers. And in 1 year's time, I actually even got my license. So, I thought now it's a strong chance that I have the teaching license. But still, I'm renewing it for the past 2 years, but still no success. I'm trying various options, but,
You're one of the best way for you to find a private school that are taking a person like yourself, educated person, specialized. Right. You should have a good opportunity to, to find out if you can be hired in a private school. Public school will be difficult for you because those are unionized, but private school are looking for people like yourself. You should send a resume to a consultant, and they should try to put you through with a proper employer. And you should be able to come in Canada under provincial nominee program or BC, or an LMIA can be done from outside Canada for a person like yourself. You're fairly educated, you're experienced, and you have a special education. I feel very confident about you.
Oh, really? That motivates me.
That's really good to hear. Yeah, I don't know if Barbara or Linosh have any other tips or advice for you. I'll just hand the floor over.
I really like her attitude of not giving up. And that's what you need to have first and foremost for anyone who's planning to immigrate to Canada. you said your visiting visa was rejected because of the ties in Canada. Is that correct?
Not the visiting visa, the study visa. I still have the visit visa. I still have it till 2024.
Okay. So I think you were selected for the study program, but then you got rejected.
Yeah, the visa got rejected, the study visa.
Yeah, so I don't know whether you took a chance to really address those concerns and reapply again for the student visa.
I've done it 2 times. I mean, the first time, yes, they said, it was something about the employment opportunities. So I thought my resident card was, it was about to expire. So I got a new offer. Although I've been working with the same company for the past 10 years, so that was not a problem. They gave me everything that I required. But this time, one of the reasons was the family ties in Canada, which is my daughter, so I cannot change that. So I thought now I cannot.
So my best suggestion to you is I think Marshall was right on the private school. Now, if you want to have a list of private school in BC or Ontario, you got a certification in Ontario. I think it's good to also look at other provinces including Atlantic provinces, and look at private schools. And because Ontario is not necessarily the province which would have a shortage of teachers. Right. So you should look at other provinces and also private school, and hopefully you will find a job very soon, I hope.
Yeah. The reason in reference to the fact that you have a daughter in Canada and you're rejected, that happened is because of the fact all foreign workers are entering Canada as a temporary. So you must have the intention to work and should be able to go back. It's called dual intent.
Right.
If your application shows that you have a reason to not go back to India or wherever you may be from, then that will apply to you. So don't take it personally. So, you need to just like Lindsay said, you just hung on there, just keep trying and you'll get it. Don't be disappointed, okay?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your question. I hope, these answers encourage you not to give up hope yet. Okay, I see another question here. This one is.
I think, sorry, Chelsea, I think Barbara had hands up.
Oh, sorry, Barbara. Go ahead.
All good. I just had another suggestion, and to anyone else, I think I saw someone else pop in and they had experienced some refusals. I love this application. I do it a lot. It's called the Access to Information request, where you actually submit an application for the officer's notes on your past refused applications. What that does is gives you a bigger insight of what actually happened. What specifically did they, not like? Was something not included that they wanted to see additional information about? Because the refusal letters are incredibly basic, to put it lightly. They're typically copy and paste, and they don't really give you a lot to go off of. So any future application, it will help you whether you go with the study again or work in the future. Knowing specifically why the officer refused a past application will help you overcome those refusal reasons in the future.
Very good.
Right. Is there also, I'm actually still in touch with the university and they are ready to, revoke the offer at any point of time. So I'm just thinking, this summer, if I come over, is there some way of applying for the study permit while being in Canada?
Yes, you can. Within Canada.
And is there a better chance? This is actually, I live in the Gulf. So this is through the Abu Dhabi, that it got refused. And do you think it's a better chance if you apply from inside Canada or not really?
That's a very difficult question to answer.
Okay, I understand.
But I think as now Barbara said, I think you should give it a try. Right? I recommend you give it a try of reapplying, whether it is from Dubai or whether it is after coming to Canada. I think, to be honest, it shouldn't make a difference to an immigration officer. The assessment criteria is the same. Now, your Ontario teaching certificate should also provide you points if you are thinking of permanently immigrating. Okay, I don't know whether you have thought of this, but because you told me you have got a certification, I think it would most probably give you additional points in the express entry pool. Just worth exploring. But your plan of coming here for studies and then that's not a bad idea, to be honest.
Okay. Our next question is from Shohini. Shohini, if you're still here, do you want to jump on screen and you can ask your question to our panelists today? Forgive me if I pronounced your name wrong. Shohini.
No, you pronounced it perfectly. Can you guys see me / hear me?
I can hear you. I can see your picture. So it's all
good.
Okay.
Oh, here am I. So a bit of a background, I guess, is I decided to migrate to Canada in the midst of the pandemic. So my partner's Canadian, and I applied to the express entry sort of stream under the federal skills worker. And as we know, they've not been drawing from that for a while. So I thought about, quite similar to Anastasia, just a step to get in through the IEC. So I'm working through the work permit right now. Just going to give my biometrics, in fact, today. So I've received the ITA for it. I'm just generally wondering, and much like the advice that's been provided, I'm sort of reticent to move to Canada without having a job offer lined up, so that, you know, when the work permit kicks in, it's also counting the years of experience that I would have in Canada, professional experience. Just sort of wondering if the federal skilled workers in the meantime will pick up, or if there's any indication of, you know, it sort of resuming its previous sort of numbers. Yeah, it's mainly my question, and what the benchmark would be.
Great question. I don't know if anyone wants to take, Marshall, yeah, go ahead and take a stab at that.
You had indicated you had a Canadian partner?
I do have a Canadian partner, still do, thankfully.
He's a Canadian citizen?
He is. He was born and raised in Vancouver and Vancouver Island.
And where is he now?
He's with me here in Sydney, Australia. So we're both working here, and he's working towards his immigration in Australia while I'm working towards my immigration.
If he's a Canadian living in Australia, he can sponsor you.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm just, I guess, want to try doing it on my own. And I know that the sponsorship route can be quite invasive. So just in terms of just providing a lot of evidence and information and proving your relationship sort of stuff, which is not a problem. We can do it, but that's kind of my plan C. We're common law, so we've got a registration. Yeah.
Shouldn't have any problem. You're getting permission.
Okay.
You should proceed the sponsorship.
And that's able to be done remotely as well, like outside of Canada? Okay.
With an intent to come to Canada and be established. He's a Canadian.
Okay. He is, yeah.
Constitutional right to sponsor you and come back to Canada.
Okay. All right. That helps. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'll send you my bill.
Oh, go ahead, Linosh.
Yeah. So yes, I think Marshall has given a great option there, but I think that your intention to come back to Canada should be quite solid there. When your spouse is sponsoring you, and he is looking for Australian immigration, from what you said, he is probably
he's already a PR. Yeah.
Oh, he's already a PR in Australia. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah.
Does that count against you if he's got?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Well, the intention has to be solid to come back and settle here. You have to show proof.
Exactly.
Yeah. So your first question on whether the express entry will pick up, I can only give you my guess, because no one knows here as well as my colleagues, and we are all waiting impatiently for that to pick up. But I can imagine it would pick up very soon because they have got a target to meet. You are almost quarter of the year is already done. So I think, if you have to meet the 440,000 people landing in Canada in a year, I hope they would clear the backlog. I think that's the primary reason they have halted it. And I think it would be picking up anytime soon. So if you're planning to create an express entry profile, I would suggest the best time is right now. Okay.
Yeah, so I already had one and it expired because it was sitting around for a year. So that tends to happen, but there's nothing stopping me from going ahead and recreating a profile, I think, at this stage. Yeah.
I think recreating is worth a try right now. Yeah, that's my suggestion.
Okay. I'm maxed out on my IELTS and everything else that I could do. So my points even dropped on my birthday last year. So I went from 474 to 464. So
okay.
I've heard it happen. So I completely anticipated that.
Let me add to that. So from hearing your points, okay, I am in high hopes here. Although we can't really guarantee that you will be picked up, but there is a very high chance, depending on the number of people they are forecasting, there's a very high chance that you could be picked up in the expression report. So awesome. I would say there is a golden chance right there not to miss it.
Awesome. All right.
Okay.
It's a
time
great
to refresh.
Hope.
Yeah.
Nanju is giving a lot of hope. I'm giving you the possibilities.
Optimist and the realist. Yeah. No, thank you so much. This has been great.
All right.
Thanks for your question. And I'm just conscious of the time. I know we've kind of run out of time today and we didn't get through all the questions. So I just wanted to touch on a couple questions that we had in the chat. One was from James, who wanted a certified list of consultants/agents for job seekers from abroad. And I believe Linod shared a link to the CICC's website, so you could double check if an RCIC is legit, and that way you can get in contact directly through their website to the RCIC of your choice. I mean, you can also double check with our speakers today. Our speakers are legit RCICs, but you can also double check their status on the website that I believe, Linosh, you put a link in here. I haven't scrolled down to the bottom yet. So that was James's question. And then Stacey Ann had a question about express entry. Ariane had a question about if the job bank is a good website. And yes, the job bank is a good website. It's a legit website. So I hope that answers your question. And yeah, we've got a few more questions on here that we've just kind of run out of time for. So maybe I'd suggest getting in contact with our speakers today. You can find our speakers on LinkedIn, and if our speakers are comfortable, you can share your contact information in the chat here. If you've got an email address you're okay giving out to our candidates today, feel free to even leave your LinkedIn information so that our audience can contact you with any other questions that they may have. And yeah, so I just kind of wanted to wrap up the panel here for today and maybe just quickly hand it over to our panelists if you have any lasting pieces of advice or words of wisdom that you want to share with our job candidates today here in our panel. And yeah, I'll hand it over to Anastasia if you have any final words you wanted to share with our guests today.
I guess for anyone new coming over, my advice is always just to pause and slow it down. What I have seen is a lot of newcomers coming through, applying for every job, exhausting themselves out in the process, and then maybe engaging with one of the support systems that are out there and established here in British Columbia. So my advice is to what you're doing today, coming to this event, accessing some of the resources that are there for you. I've put another good resource into the chat there, the Skilled Immigrant Info Center, and that's offered through the Vancouver Public Library. And that resource will help you find other supports, and it's going to give you information and research and data so that you come to Canada armed and ready for your job search. That's my advice.
Perfect, thank you. And Marshall, if you have any words of advice or thoughts you want to share with our guests today, feel free.
Well, my main thing that I would say to you that the responsibility lies within you. It's very important that you have a roadmap, and your immigration lawyer and consultant must provide you with a strategic plan, step by step, to ensure that you have what you want. If the immigration consultant or lawyer hasn't given you a plan, then there is something lacking there. You cannot come here and be distressed. You must know what's going to happen in 1 year, when it's happened 2 years, in 3 years, step by step. Make sure you've got all the information. Now you know you've got a ladder to ride. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And I'll just move over to Barbara here. Do you have any lasting words of wisdom or advice to share?
Words of wisdom, and I don't know if I have that. Just want to say thank you so much. It's been a wonderful conversation. I guess just yeah, making sure you are informed. I definitely echo, Lanaj and Marshall, where there are heartbreaking stories of scammers and situations. Always just be, incredibly comfortable and confident before you, transfer over any kind of funds. Do your research, maybe connect with relatives or friends to get their opinion on someone, especially if you're overseas and only connecting virtually. It can be tricky to see who you're dealing with. That's why Zoom is so amazing. So, maybe have the Zoom conversation first. But otherwise, best of luck. I know it's difficult. I know it's incredibly emotional. So just have a support system in place to help you. And thank you. It was a pleasure meeting everyone today.
Wonderful. Last but not least, Lanaj, if you have any thoughts you wanted to share.
Hey, Chelsea, I think someone told me here that my messages have been going to them privately. Why is that happening? I'm not sure. So maybe,
if you just click on where it says to, yeah, you can choose everyone at the top. That happened to me earlier too. I accidentally sent a private message to one of our audience members.
Okay, so let me kind of send all these messages to them. Okay.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Did you get all the messages?
Yeah, I can see some of the links coming through. Yeah, to the CICC. Yeah, the college. Perfect.
And also the job bank, right?
I don't see the link to the
I think
job
apparently just
bank.
to another person.
I'm just scrolling up. I see Anastasia's links. Okay, job bank just came through. Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yes, so I send my details also. Okay. So thank you, everyone. It was wonderful to share this panel with distinguished panelists, Marshall, Anastasia, Barbara, and my colleague Chelsea. And thank you everyone for joining today. It was a wonderful evening from Vancouver, Canada. Yeah. So I would say that I would reiterate what Anastasia told you in the beginning. Like it requires a lot of patience. It's an organized. You have to be very organized and keep making your strategies to attack it one by one. So you can materialize your dream of coming to Canada. It's absolutely possible, but requires a great deal of effort. So keep at it. And we are all here to help you. And if you let us know anytime, we would be there to represent you in your immigration procedures.
Wonderful. And on behalf of bcjobs.ca, I just want to say a big thank you to our panel speakers today for coming on and, sharing your wealth of knowledge and your words of wisdom and your advice and your thought, sharing your thoughtfulness and just your energy with our audience today, because it's, as you just mentioned, Lanaj and Anastasia touched on earlier, it's a really tough process immigrating to Canada, and it does require a lot of effort, and there are good people here in Canada who can help you with the process, and so feel free to reach out to our panel speakers today to get more information about coming to Canada and, what's the right plan for you for finding work in Canada and for finding and for meeting your goals, whether it be just to come here temporarily or to come here for permanent residency. So again, thank you to our audience for coming out today. I know we've got people from many different countries all over the world, different time zones. I mean, we have someone here from Australia, so that's already into tomorrow. So thank you for, coming out with your great questions, and apologies on not being able to get through all the questions today. We did our best, but please forward your questions to our panel speakers, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer them and and to help you with your immigration goals. So thank you so much for coming to our event. We have another #HireMe 2022 panel series event coming up on April 5th. This is not an immigration event. This is an event with local BC and Canadian companies. So the companies we have coming is Interior Health. We also have Social Nature and Carbon 60, a tech company, coming to our panel on April 5th. And you can find more details on Eventbrite and sign up there. So thank you so much for coming out today, and we hope to see you at our next event.
Thank you.
All right. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you.